Hi, I'm Ryan Moore, and in this video, I'm going to take you step by step through the process of creating a $10,000 logo for free. I'm going to go over all the elements that consist of a $10,000 logo and why companies spend over $10,000 on their logos. Before I get started, I just want to show you some examples of some logos I did on this free platform, Logo Maker, and I want to tell you what makes a really professional logo that's worth anywhere from $10,000 to $200 million. That's right, yes, BP, British Petroleum, actually spent over $200 million on their logo. And these are the four things that really create a professional logo. So before we get started, let's go over those four things right now. So the first thing is the logo matches the industry. So you want to make sure you look at what the industry does and has, and people have representations in their mind of what a hamburger shop is, or a taco stand, or auto service is. So BP did a really good job of making it look like it's part of the industry here. The second thing is you want to make sure you express the emotion within your logo using the colors and the fonts and the icons. So the emotion that they were trying to use is environmentally friendly and clean, because they didn't want to look like they were the polluters of the world. They wanted to look like they were environmentally sound and stuff. And they did that with the colors and the fonts and the icons. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. The third thing is logos like this have good symmetry and spacing. So for example, let's just say I took one of these things and I twisted it a little bit. With your eye, you're kind of like, something's a little off, you know? So you want to make sure it has good alignment and symmetry. And this is even aligned at a 45-degree angle. It's not here, it's right there, and has good spacing between there and there. And it's at like a good 45-degree angle. So that's really, really good that they did that. And then you want to make sure it has good usability. This is probably one of the most important things, to have good usability. What I mean by that is the logo can look good on a small little pen maybe. And it could also look good on a huge billboard. So if you zoom in on it or zoom out on it, the logo will still look good. And that's really important. Sometimes logos don't look good when they're so small. They look like a blob and it's hard to read the little writing and things like that. You want to make sure that people could see it from far away and understand it. And you only have like 2 seconds for somebody to see it and go, oh, okay, I know what it is, because most people are just ADD, you know? So anyways, these are the four things to keep in mind when we do our logos, and I will remind you of these things throughout this video when making a logo. So to create these logos, what you want to do is go over to logomaker.com, Logomaker. This is an app that allows you to create free logos, and you just need to go to the website. You don't even have to download anything for it. And what I'm going to go over right now with you is all of these 8 things that are going to help you create a very professional logo. So the first thing I'm going to go over is learning the tools. Then I'm going to hop on over to choosing the right style. This is really important to understand what style you want to use for your logos, because there's different styles. And I want to kind of help you decide what style is good for you. Then we're going to get into graphics and shapes and how to pair those graphics and shapes with the fonts. That's very important. Then we're going to get into layering, and then we're going to follow up by going into the symmetry and spacing. This is what makes a logo look really professional. Then we're going to get into your colors. Also, what makes your logo look professional and adds a little character to your logo. And then last but not least, we're going to get into exporting your logo so you can put it on your website, banners, t-shirts, or whatever you want to print your logo on. So let's get started. Just open up a new window and go to logomaker.com, Logomaker without the E. That's Logomaker. And you're going to see a pop-up like this. Just click out of it, and you could just click the blank canvas like I just did right now. First thing I like to do is I like to try to get some inspiration. So sometimes I go to this website. It's called behance.net. That's BEHANCE.net, and it looks something like this. I just go up to the top here in the search and I just look for like logo. I'm going to look for logo mountain because that's what I want right now. And I kind of just get some inspiration over here and I look for some samples. Sometimes I do that if I can't think of something. So the next thing I do is I look for an icon so I could start from there. The other thing you could do is start with text if you have some inspirational text, or you could go over and get an icon. But let's get an icon here. This is what I'm going to start with today. I'm going to type in mountain. All right, so they have a bunch of mountains here, but I think I like this one, and I'm going to use this mountaintop right here for my logo. So all you have to do is just click on it, and you can move it around, or you could click on the corners and you could resize it to make it bigger or smaller, just like that. So that looks about right. Now I was thinking I want a circle or half circle around this right here. So let's go ahead and let's type in like half circle. There you go. I see some half circles here. I'm going to click on this one here. It's going to put it on the canvas, and I'm going to resize this one, and I'm going to try to match it up to this right here. So let's make it a little bit bigger, and let's move it over, and then let's make it a little bit bigger. There you go. And I'm going to move it with my mouse keyboards here. There you go. That looks pretty good. Then if I want to resize it, I just click this blank area, hold down, and I highlight everything, and I could resize it just like that. And I can move it both at the same time. You'll notice that I have layers here, and I could show a layer or unshow a layer if I wanted to. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. The next thing I want to do now is I want to go over to my text area right here. Just click the T button here, and you'll see some text show up. You could take this and you can move it just like that. And I'm going to type in mountain. There you go. Now I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to go over here to my color fill, and I'm going to make it black for now. All right, so next thing I want to do is I want to change the font. So they have a lot of categories here, and then they have a lot of fonts within the category. There's a font that I really, really like for this, and that's Passion 1. So I kind of looked through that already. And I'm going to add some more text on this as well. I'm going to make it say Mountain Blanco. Why not? All right, so now let's line this up. It's always good to line things up properly. There you go, right there. And I'm going to get more into lining things up with you in a little bit. That looks pretty good so far. But I was thinking I wanted a tagline down here. So let's add some more text by clicking the text tool here. I'm going to move it. But I don't like this font. I don't want it to be the same font. It looks like it's competing now. So I'm going to change the color first. And I'm going to go up here, and I found a font previously. There you go. I think that's a good font for this. And I'm going to type in your tagline goes here. I'm going to move that right below it. And you know what? I think I want to make the color a little bit different, maybe a little lighter or something like that. There you go. And I'm going to try to match up where the end of the O is and where the M is right there. Now that looks pretty professional actually. In fact, I could actually imagine a company really using this logo. So just by using a couple tools here, I made a professional logo. But let's get into more details about how to create different styles of logos and some other tools to use to really make your logo stand out. So the next thing I want to show you is how to duplicate objects. And I'm going to show you something really, really cool that I think you'll like. So I'm going to make this look even better by duplicating this right here, by right-clicking and hitting the button that says duplicate. And it just duplicated this icon here. So now I want to flip this object vertically. So all you have to do now is right click and click flip vertically right there. You can flip it vertically or horizontally, and I'm going to flip it here. And then what I want to do is I want to take my opacity, which makes it more transparent, and bring it down. But also I want to put it in the back. Now you can move the layers by putting it in the back that way, or you could right click and send to the back, and I'll put it in back. And I think I want to make it a little bit more transparent, just subtle, very subtle, subtle, subtle. And that's kind of cool that you see this like a subtlety in the background. And I would even probably make it a little less, even real subtle, just like that. Almost like a mirage off the water or something like that. So these are the little things I like to do within logos where you don't really see it until you look very closely at the logo. Here's another logo I did that same technique on. I just took this, I found this house thing, and I duplicated it, and I flipped it vertically, and I put it down here. So very cool. You just want to get your spacing right as well between here and here. That's important. Also, here's an example of the transparencies that I was using. You could put like shapes and transparencies, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit. Also, here's another thing I used, and I put transparencies over it, and you can kind of see through it. So if you use this opacity here feature, it adds like, it's almost like sunglasses or something, and it kind of sees through the background and stuff. So that's really, really cool that Logo Maker allows you to do this. It makes things original and it adds just a little bit more professionalism to your logos. And by the way, this is just a shape that I found in the shapes area. I think I just typed in oval in the search. As you can see, there's so much you could do with just shapes alone. I literally just created all of this with just shapes and I just started layering it on top of each other. And it's good to know these layers because then you know what's on top and what's on bottom. That's really important, especially if you're using this opacity feature here. Then you could take this, and if it's at the bottom, then it's not going to look good. So I'm going to throw this at the bottom, for example, by right-clicking and clicking on Send to Back. And you're not really seeing it, right? So let me undo that by clicking this Undo button here. And there you go. So it's good to know where your stuff is, and you could just drop it in by yourself. You could just move it there or move it up and stuff like that if you start getting creative with these layers and stuff. And that's the same thing I was doing over here. You don't want this to be above it on the front of it because it kind of, when you start printing it out and seeing it on things, it will kind of overlap and you'll see that this text right here will be a different color because you have this on top of it. So you do want to send that to the back. That's important. So here's another good example of what you could do with shapes. This is just two circle shapes actually right here lined up on each other. So all I did is I went in, I got a circle, made it a little bit bigger by clicking the corners, and I found a good shade that I liked and I was just playing with it and finally a good shade. Then I grabbed another circle like this, and I made it a darker shade. Like I just made it a little bit darker than this. So you could grab this exact color right here actually, and right click, copy that color. I'm going to paste that color into here so I could have the exact same color if you wanted the same color. And then I'm going to make this a little darker. There you go. And I'm going to send this to the back, and I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to move it over here. Now you could just start playing with that so you could see there's like this outline. So that's one way to make like an outline with a shape. I just want to kind of give you an idea what you could do with shapes. The other way you could make outlines is by going to this outline feature here, and you could add a color for the outline. So there's the fill that's inside, and then there's the outline here, and then you could do this as well. So that's cool as well. I made two just because I wanted to play with it a little differently, but it's really up to you. So I'm going to highlight this whole thing by clicking this. I'm going to move it up. And that's the first thing I did is I got that circle looking really good. Just make sure you centered it. And the second thing is I just found a lobster like this. And let me remove some of this stuff so you could see what I'm doing here. And I put this square on top of it. So all I did is went to this square here and I put it over this, and I just, moved it around. And so these corners right here, these mid corners, is how you could resize it, and this resizes it in proportion. This resizes the top and bottom, and this resizes the left and right of it. So that's how that works. And then I just clicked on this, got this color, copied it, just taking the same color, clicked on the circle, got that color, and went back over to the square layer, as you can see right here, and pasted that in there. So I have the exact color. So you're not just guessing and you don't see a line around it. And then all I did is I just added some text over it, and I found some text. So I'm just going to add that in right now. And then this is over the text, as you can see. So this is great that the layers have this. So I'm going to move that down. There you go. And there you have it. That's how I basically broke that down and made that. Here's another one that I had a lot of fun making. What I first started out with is this heptagon. It's a 6-sided shape. So I just typed in heptagon, Heptagon. And I believe I just used that, and I just move that around and stuff like that. So that was that shape. Then I looked for an oval. So let's do that. And I found a really nice one. I think it's this first one right here. It has a little point to that oval, which is great. By the way, if you don't like the shape of the oval, you could make it fatter or skinnier, longer, shorter, and then you can make it size in proportion to it by clicking the 4 corners of this. So that's really, really great that they allow you to do that. So then I took that and I just basically duplicated it, and then I moved it with these arrow corners. I don't know if you can see that right there, these arrow corners. I just moved it and I lined it up just like that. And then I colored it black. I just changed it to black, and that's pretty much all I did. To get this bee looking thing, I just put overlays, and I just went to do that. I went to my square and I just made it yellow, and I made it this color. Like, I just found a great yellow that I love. So there it is. That's something like that yellow. And I just lined it up there. And sometimes you're just lining things up and looking at it and seeing if it looks good, you know. So you're probably asking, how did I get this background? The best way to get the background is just take a shape like this, and then you could cover it just like that, and you could put it in the back like that, and then change the color to match whatever color you want. That's basically what I did. I'm just going to delete that. It's kind of big, so I made it really big just to show you. So now I want to go over the font and text options you have. So for example, this has a space in between, and there's 2 ways you could do that. You could manually add space by putting your keyboard there, or even better, you could do this and go to the styles. So this gives you a lot of options here. You can make it fatter. You can make this thicker or not. You could play with the line height right there. You could play with the letter spacing. It puts more spacing in between the letters, but I don't want to do that because it looks kind of weird. I want it all connected. And then what I did to make this separated is I added a little bit of word spacing right there. So you'll see that I opened it up just a little bit, and then you want to kind of move it there. And then I just found this wine glass, and I found some kind of blob or sketch right here. I just looked for that and I put it in there, and that looks really, really good. And then of course I took the same colors of what I feel that wine would be, and I just matched that as well. So that's what I'm talking about when making a logo. You want your icon to kind of match. See this kind of swivelly thing? It kind of goes with the curvatures of the text. You want good colors to give you that feel of whatever it is. This is wine, and I think I accomplished that here on this logo. So here's another example of a really cool logo. So what I did is I looked for a really nice clean font that kind of matched the curvatures of the shape ring I had. So what I did is I got this ring here, I made it black, and then I went to the outline here and I just resized it just like that. So I did that to a bunch of them. There's 1 ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, and I just duplicated the rings. And I try to keep the same thickness of this O right there to kind of echo that, no pun intended. Another logo I did the same thing with is this logo, and what I did is I just duplicated the same exact shape thing that I found in my icons. So let's just get rid of all this stuff here, and I just started with this one. So I probably just moved it around like that, centered it, and then I duplicated it. So I duplicated it, and then I took it and I moved it like that. So that's what I did first, duplicate. And then I said, I'm going to do it over here a little bit, and so on. So that's kind of what I did. And then I highlighted that kind of stuff and I moved it. So you could just highlight whatever you want by clicking this white area, highlighting it, and kind of moving it around. All right, so I'm not going to go over every single one of them, but I just wanted to give you some ideas and how to work the tools and stuff. Oh, there's one more that I kind of did want to show you, and it's this one right here. I just took a tree and I duplicated a bunch of circles on this. So I thought that was also a good idea and fun to do as well. And as you can see, I added like little birds and stuff like that to this, and I stuck them in there. So now let's go over logo alignment. I want to make sure that you align your stuff correctly and it looks really good, and spacing as well. So let me make this a little bit bigger so you could see it. And then let's look at some of the alignment stuff. This is not perfect right now, but I could make it a little bit better with alignment. So the first thing you want to do is look at the spacing between the icon area and the text and make sure that looks pretty good with your eyes, pretty good. And you could see that that's a good amount of space there. Maybe I'll put there. So you want that same amount of space between there and there. Sometimes if you want to get really tricky, you could take a shape like this and you could resize that shape and you could put it up to this. This is like your ruler kind of thing. This is what I do. And I go, okay, that's that. From there to there is the same as here to here. So let me move that up with my arrow keyboard, sorry. And then there you go. Now I know that that's the exact there. Now I could get rid of this. Now I know that from here to here is the same spacing as there. Now it looks really, really cool. Same with from here to here, you want to make sure that's done. So what I would do is the same thing as I would align it here, and with my mouse I would try to get it to the out corner of that, and then I would move this to where it starts. As you can see, maybe it starts there, somewhere in there, and then I would try to say, okay, that's exactly what I want here. I actually did an okay job there, a little bit off, but it's pretty darn close. Maybe I move it over 1 pixel or something like that. So your eye does a really good job at seeing it, but then you could do some tricks like that. Another trick that I like to use is going up here to the settings area and then turning it into a grid, having a grid in the background. When you save it, the grid won't be there, but this is just a guideline of helping. So you could kind of see if everything is straight on the grid and you kind of look on that. That's another helpful tool as well. To undo that grid, just go to settings and you could go to blank, and then there you have it. So you can see what it looks like there. So now I want to get into coloring. Color coordination is really important in logos. Sometimes you just want your logo really clean and like black and white or something like this, but sometimes you want to add some really cool colors to your logos, kind of like this one as well. But let's add some coloring to this. And if you're confused about what color to do, again, you could get some inspiration about some other logos of what they did. The most professional logos don't have more than 3 colors. Typically, you want to keep your colors to a minimum just so that it stands out and it's very, very bold. And if you want to take it further, you could go to COOLORS.co and they'll give you some good color options here. This is really cool. I like to go here sometimes when I want to get ideas of colors. So I just go up to Explore, and you can see some hand-picked colors that people liked. So for example, I like this dark color right here. This is a good one right here. I'm like, yeah, that's a good one. And there's other colors that go with that. So these colors go together. These colors kind of go together. These colors go together. So you're looking for like a spectrum. You don't have to use all of the colors. I would just use this one and maybe this one or something like that. So there's like accent colors, you know, and stuff like that that you would use. But I'm going to copy this one. It's going to copy the number. This is really cool. And I'm going to go and I'm going to highlight these two. So I could highlight this one or I could highlight them both. So I'm going to highlight these two and I'm going to paste that here, that color, by right clicking and pressing paste or command a V. And that's kind of cool right there. So I'm going to make that this Mountain Blanco the same color as well. And maybe I want to make my tagline that other color that they had as well. Let me see if that looks good. Let's go here, click on that, click that. Nah, I don't like that. Let's go back to here. This is what I would do. And go back to the tagline. I'm going to paste that in. And then I'm going to make it a little lighter. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it up just a little bit maybe. Or a little gray kind of. And just use your eye, you know. So these are just helpful things like color, the colors.co or this Behance.net just kind of gives you kind of perspective on what other people do, just give you an idea. But really, it's about playing with it and using your eye on what really just looks good to you. And I think that looks pretty darn good. So now the next thing I want to show you that you should do is to crop it. So you go down to the bottom here and you'll see this little thing that crops it. And you want to put it, and you can move it around with this right here, these little corners. So you could crop it the way you want it. And try to put the same spacing, if you can, on all of the areas. And this makes it so when you save it, it doesn't save too much or too little of the outside borders or edges and stuff. When you're done, just click this or the Enter key on your keyboard, and there you have it. Now you could save it by going up to the top right and you press Save Logo. They allow you to save it for free down here. You could get the low resolution version. Or you could upgrade and get the high resolution version with a license. With a low resolution version, You'll see there's a license requirement, so you have to give logo maker credit on like your website or Instagram or Facebook, wherever you put it. It gives you directions on their website, and it lets you know how to do that on their website. I would highly recommend getting the high resolution version. If you're planning on printing this and putting it everywhere, I highly recommend you getting the high resolution version. It's only $19. Other companies charge a lot more for their license use and all of these graphics. They even give you a vector file, which is pretty amazing, a PDF printable vector file, which means you could put it on t-shirts, hats, banners, and so on, and it will never get blurry. So that's really cool. Oh, and last but not least, they also give you a social icon creator, so you could put it on your Facebook and stuff. So I love that. If you do decide to just get the free one, they do give you a PNG, which is really great as well, and you could put this on your website. Just remember, the background is transparent, so my viewer looks like it's black or whatever, but it's just transparent. So if you put this on a white website, it will be white. If you put it on a gray website, the transparentness is gray, and that's the professional way of doing this. When you get the license, they also give you that transparent PNG and a JPG with a white background as well on there. So they give you a lot of files. I think it's like 4 to 5 files, SVG, PDF, JPEG, and PNG files. I mean, that's everything you need for web-based and printing your logo files. And for me, that's a deal because I love having professional files when creating my logos. So I love this. Another thing to take note of is every time you save a logo, it gives you this unique URL right here at the bottom, or you could see that at the top. So if you want to send this to somebody and say, hey, can you take a look at this and make edits? They could take a look at this and they'll say, yeah, I like that, but you know what? I'm going to move this over, or I'm going to make a different color or whatever they want. And then they could save it again. And notice every time I save it, there's a new URL up here, and that same URL comes down here. So you'll have that in your browser history as well. So even if you close this up, it will be in your browser history. And they also made it easy for you to go over here and click auto saved work, and you could see all the work that you created as well. So let's say you close your browser, you reopen it, and you're like, uh-oh, where did my work go? You could go here and you could click auto save work, and you're like, yeah, there it is. That's the one I want to work on. And you could double click it and it will show up. And then I could do that again by going back here, and let's say I want this one I was working on before, and you could see that one as well. So this is really great that they did this, so you're not freaking out that you did all this work for nothing. You have it already saved as well as a ID in your browser, and also within this logo maker area where it has auto save work. So let's recap on what makes a really professional logo. You want to first make sure it looks like it's part of the industry or the feeling you want to portray. You also want to make sure your icons in your fonts really represent and match the feeling and emotions you're doing. That's the second thing. Then you want to make sure you have really good coloring and symmetry as well. So the colors bring out that emotion, and the symmetry just makes it look really professional, the spacing and alignment and stuff like that. And the last thing you want to make sure you do is look at it and see, will this look good on a really small pen, and will it look good really big as well? So that's about it. Go ahead and like, rate, and subscribe. Hitting up that thumbs up button helps me get up to the top of the searches so everybody else could see this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you on the next video.